Well, DGB, we'll shorten it to that. We knew what we were getting with Tennessee. They needed an offensive lineman. We needed another guy on the outside that could potentially make plays. And I honestly think that, fans are going to be very excited about this signing. We see him limited amount of him in preseason, but this first week against Cleveland, you could see him in practice all week long. He is so excited. He is ready to make plays. And, shady pass, that's why we get guys like Brian Dawkins. We hired Brian Dawkins on as a scout. He actually may, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but he may help me in the GM room a little bit, whereas, I can do it as so much from a scouting perspective and, what I've done in my time in the football industry, but there's just a certain dynamic that Brian can bring, not only to the boardroom, but to the scouting room and to, just the locker room. These guys that, need a second chance. Guys like Sua Cravens. I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of people were very surprised that we were throwing the bid in. You heard what happened at the end of the training camp where he got in that fight with Deshaun Jackson. Some might say that actually might help his popularity here in Philadelphia. But, that altercation with Deshaun Jackson that ultimately led to that organization, the Washington Redskins, cutting Sua Cravens, their second-round pick, speaks to maybe organizational fit, but more so, I believe a guy like Brian Dawkins, when you hear Sua Craven's favorite player growing up was Brian Dawkins, I think having that, and he's not only going to be, like I said, a part of my staff that helps me in the scouting process, helps me with all that other stuff, administrative, he's also, a role model to a lot of these young players. They looked up to him. So I have no issue getting guys that, you, the media, so-called flag as locker room cancer, head cases, buzzwords like that. That does not bother me when I know I have a strong leader like Doug Peterson, ex-players, Brian Dawkins. We got Deuce Staley also there, man. Guys that have a lot of respect and understand and we can be able to connect with these players so that we can get the most out of them where other teams fail to do so. So as you can tell from the preseason, a couple good showings. Doriel will be starting on our 53-man roster day one. I assume you might have to clarify with Doug Peterson. I believe he's already made the announcement that Jordan Matthews will be probably moving back to the slot. We may try him a little bit outside, but Doriel will be starting out on the outside for the first game coming up here in actually a couple hours' time. Against the Cleveland Browns. Sua will be on our practice squad. We're going to monitor some of the stuff. There may be some legal proceedings, but, wouldn't put it past me to have him be called up to the final 53. And, if not, he'll be the first guy to come off the board when an injury happens. If, unfortunately, if that does happen, it does happen from time to time. You say we got tremendous value. I say those teams got tremendous players. We'll start with Connor Barwin, who is now a member of the Indianapolis Colts. We were able to acquire a 2018 first-round pick for him. It was tough to see him go. He was a very productive member of our defensive line and an outstanding member of the community. How many times has that guy been right in the front running for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award? He does great things for Philadelphia, and it was just, it was what was best for both sides. We had such a surplus on that defensive line. We had Vinnie Curry, Brandon Graham, and Connor Bowen, just to name the top three guys at the top of that depth chart. Jim Schwartz deemed it, he might not get the snaps he wants in Connor Bowen, and moving him to a team like Indianapolis where he's going to be a guaranteed starter works out best for both organizations. We're going to be able to have, recoup some draft picks, being able to try to get rid of the stigma and the damage that was done during, another GM's era here in Philadelphia, and it all starts with reacquiring more high draft picks that we can do and add and build in the future. And in regards to Sam Bradford, it was apparent that Sam did not want to be here in Philadelphia ever since we drafted Carson Wentz. I wasn't on the staff when we did decide to get Carson Wentz, but I am very high in him, and I firmly do believe he can be the starting franchise quarterback here in Philadelphia. So the fact that, we gave Sam Bradford a lot of time during the preseason, a lot of reps to show off his stuff, kind of like we're putting him on a pedestal and showing him off to the rest of the league. And we're going to let the offers come in, and Denver made us an offer we could not refuse. Seeing a team like Denver up there in the AFC West, they're clearly trying to repeat as Super Bowl champions. And, they need a guy that can get them over the hump. They have a phenomenal defense, and they believe Sam Bradford is the guy that can bring them another Super Bowl appearance. At least, I'm not going to say they're going to win the Super Bowl because we're down here in the NFC. and we're certainly going to be challenging for the NFC East this season. But Sam Bradford was a great fit there in Denver, and what we got for him is a great fit here in Philadelphia. And to answer your point about acquiring a 2017 first-round pick, I mean, ideally, we would be able to move, because having 3 first-round picks in 2018 is phenomenal. Great starting point. We don't have a second-round pick in 2018. That was a part of the deal to get Carson Wentz. But it takes 2 to tango. So we're going to have to find willing partners that are looking at maybe not 2017. That'll be closer to draft time anyway. But maybe, one of these teams in the first round decide that, there's not anyone on their board that fills a need that's in the first round. We may be able to talk some business there. But like I said, it takes 2 to tango, and that is, a long ways down the road. We still have an entire season ahead of us, and I'd like to focus on that. I think everyone in here is expecting to compete now. I firmly believe that with the roster we have, we can compete in our own division and compete for the playoffs. You don't begin a season expecting not to win. If you fail to prepare, then you prepare to fail. It may be a new regime and chemistry is key, but Coach Peterson has those guys ready in the locker room for Cleveland Week 1. I know the stigma from the fans is that we're doomed to fail or stumble out of the starting blocks after we go 4-0 in the preseason. It's happened year in, year out with the Eagles, being labeled as the preseason Super Bowl champions. But if going 4-0 in the preseason was easy, everyone would do it. Everyone would win. No one would lose. It would be like we're playing a sport in Switzerland. Coach Peterson may have been a hire from the last GM, but I've been impressed with what I've seen thus far, and the guys in the locker room and the guys in the front office and every one of his coaches really responds well to him. I have full confidence that he'll be able to steer this team to some wins this season and have us competing for a playoff spot. In regards to Carson Wentz, there was a reason why Carson was so coveted by teams during the draft process, and one of the biggest things outside of all his physical attributes is his mental strength. It is elite. He knows what he's in for here in Philly, and he understands the culture and expectations of this town. I think he's going to have a great first game. I can almost guarantee it. We have momentum on our side from the preseason going into the Link tonight, and with the Browns in town, we're hoping to put on a show for the fans. I can't wait.